You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, I had a time this past week. I am recovering, but really fully recovered at this point, but still just in total awe of how epic the past week has been in Philadelphia. There's been so much going on. You all have seen all of my reels and videos and IG stories and all that stuff. It has just been a very joyful time. And yeah, I had fun. I had fun. Like I had fun. Like that. And I think of a Cosby Show when they said big trouble. Well, I wasn't getting to big trouble, but I was just, I haven't partied so much in a while, actually. Like every night there was something going on. And so what am I talking about? I'm talking about the 98th General Convention of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, which I'm a proud life member of. And, you know, it was in Philadelphia. I was a part of the local host committee, and we welcomed thousands, over 7,000 alpha men were in attendance, but thousands of you, I won't call you thirsty, but and eager, inquisitive, desirable men and women of Philadelphia came through. You heeded my warning. You all took, let me just say, shout out to the one, you all know who you all are, who really took me up on that offer. I said, hey, you should go out. And you all had such a good time. I was just like proud chaperone. Because I was host committee, so I couldn't act up because I was in my city. People would have been ready to be like, did y'all see Ernest cut up? Listen, I was on duty. So for those of you who stopped me and just, showed me love and, took pictures, I just thank you all. You all were so great. And I'm just happy that people got to see the side of Philadelphia that has kept me here for nearly 15 years. I'm happy that this is the Philly that I love. Like this is when we have conventions, big events, we are epic, especially big Black events, like very cultural events. Roots Picnic is, we don't talk about her, but like conventions and conferences, when done correctly, we are some of the best to do it. I think I've gone to conventions and conferences for years at other cities. I think the two cities that might have us either tied or beat is New Orleans. I just think New Orleans is just exceptional, but that's because they got a good food, they got a scene. They're just great. Chicago was also another good one. I mean, I just love Chicago. Alpha, we had our constitutional convention last year in Chicago, and I had a fabulous time there. I think I like Chicago, New Orleans. Those might be in there, but Philadelphia is definitely in the top three for sure. Those are my top three. I feel like New York City, LA, you talk about Atlanta. I don't know. I just feel like, this is those cities. The reason I say New Orleans, Philly, and Chicago is because I feel like the locals there, right, embraces it. They want to be in it versus every other city that I named outside of them. They just are like, oh, I don't know what's going on over there. They doing anything, whatever. But Philadelphians, we just love when something's in our city, we show so much love and we really, blow things up. And this was no exception to the rule. So I'm going to talk more about the convention in a minute, but I want to just get into some other things that's going on. My CCP course that I've been working on for this entire summer, I kept telling you I was designing this online asynchronous course for CCP. It got approved. So, which I'm excited about. It got approved, and actually it was very impressively improved because normally when it goes to the department and it goes to the quality matters group, they have to look at all the things on accessibility, look at, do you have your things, possibly captioned properly? Do you have a really thorough syllabus? Do you have, online presence? Like all of the things to make sure that the learning experience for students who are taking the course virtually can still have the same or close to a very rigorous, enjoyable experience that they would have in an in-person classroom. And so I developed my own public speaking course that is now available. Well, it will be available. It's not available yet, but will be available this upcoming semester. And I will be running the course. And the beautiful thing about it is that even no matter, if I teach CCP, full time or part time, whatever, this is a course that I can always forever teach and administer, because all I'll be doing is grading, but I will still be getting paid a comparable, pay for the courses and the teaching. So, this was an investment of time, but it was so worth it, because now that I've created it and it's been approved, I can run that course throughout every semester. It's one of the required courses public speaking is, but for students and others who, cannot come to campus all the time or need that flexibility with their schedule, I now have officially a certified course that has been approved. It will be administered. And yeah, I'm just so geeked out about it. And it was a process, but it got passed very quickly. Once I submitted everything, they quickly approved it. A lot of professors that I know have to go back and consistently make revisions before they give it the green light. It was very big that my team and the department I was with, they worked with me beforehand to just tell me everything I need to do. So I wanted to get in and get out. And so I'm really excited about that. So it got approved. And this is good across the board. A lot of my friends are doing good things. Shout out to my bestie, Dr. Parks, who passed her EPP, three P's. Yes, EPPP. For those in the academic space, these are what you got to get the certifications. She's done with testing, she says. She says she's done with testing, no more studying, no more of that. Listen, the life of deep academics, I guess I'm an academic in a certain sense, but like those who are in the academy deep with the PhDs, my hats go off to you all. I have a line brother that's currently in a dual PhD program. Listen, y'all got it. I love it for you. I love that you're doing the work. Someone has to do it, because let me tell you, okay, the master's degree, I mastered it, and that was it. Okay. I told people, if I get a PhD, if I get a doctor or anything, it'll be an honorary one. If they still have those by the time, I'll be old enough to get one. That will be it. That will be Dr. Ernest Owens, and it'll be honorable. Okay. Cause I just, listen, okay. I was done after undergrad, I thought, but Dr. Parks is doing her thing. Now she's out, like she's been freed to freedom. And so we celebrate that. We celebrate her. And so I'm just so proud of her. But yeah, I got that going on, CCP, because I know we're gonna get into the convention, because I know y'all want to know what it was, what the T was. But I wanted to also shout out that this week I have an upcoming event that is open to the public. You can RSVP and register. I'm a part of the free speech speaker series that is being put together by the National Liberty Museum, which is NLM. They're celebrating their 25th anniversary of existence. They've been around for 25 years, so they're modern. They came out in 2000. They have a speaker series. And so this event that is going to be on July 23rd, which is Wednesday at 6 p.m. So all of my people in the Core 500, we got to say Core 500 now. This event is going to be at 6 p.m. on this Wednesday, July 23rd. And so I will be in a conversation with Davoff. He's a comedian actor. Ricky Schlott, which she's a columnist and a podcaster. She wrote the book, The Canceling of the American Mind. And it's also going to be narrated by Nick Gillespie, I believe his last name is. I'll be butchering last names. He's the editor-at-large for Reason Magazine. He is also the host of the Reason interview with Nick Gillespie, I think his name is. And of course, I will be there. Only black guy there. But only person of color on the panel too. But I, of course, will be there, journalist and author of The Case for Council Culture. And we're going to have this real big conversation. So it's called Can You Say That? Council Culture, Free Speech, and the Future of Public Debate. So it's going to be really free-rolling, rollicking conversation, as they describe, about free speech, council culture, public debate. I look forward to it. This is, it's just like this book has continued to expand its horizons. I feel like the first 2 years has been a journey. And as I get ready for newer chapters, it's just been wonderful that this book has continued to have a life of its own and be in the conversation, especially with everything that we're witnessing right now, just politically. Trump being reelected, I think, created another iteration and journey in this book's life. Oftentimes an author, especially a first-time author, when they write a book, especially an adult nonfiction book, they will get, they'll have a nice little 3-month run. They'll do a tour, they'll promote, they'll do talking, and then pretty much it kind of just, there's new books. And there's so many books coming out every single week, like albums. Like books come out like album releases do. There's so many people, so many authors, so much going on. And so to keep a book like mine to just stay relevant, stay in the conversations, always, in the discourse in some way, I'm just so grateful for that. So just thank you all for just thinking of me, recommending me to do, speaking engagements and things. Like, I just love it. And to be able to sell my book and also get paid speaking engagements and travel has just been a blessing. So just want to shout that out and name that. You can still get tickets. Tickets are still available. They're close to selling out. Like, I feel like by maybe Tuesday, they might. So if you're the core 500, you listen to this episode right now and you're early bird, get those tickets. They're available. You can get the link in my bio on Instagram or Twitter. And just go to my link in bio. And that's always my updated stuff that I have going on, where there's events and articles and interviews, whatever. All of my updated content is always there if you want to stay alert on how to see me and meet me. Because a lot of you all, that I saw during this convention week come up to me, it's like, where are you at? I want to see you. I want to go to this event. Where can I find you and see you out? And there were people that literally came to the party just to see me and have a good time. So I felt very loved. I felt like Philadelphia definitely showed me a lot of love, of course, but also just you are embraced all of the greatness. So I love you so much for that. So let's get into the convention itself. My convention started Monday, last Monday. It started. I mean, the parties, the events, the people I saw, it was beautiful. It was a lot of people that showed up, cameos. Y'all saw Alex Holly. Y'all saw some of the people that was showing up to network. She's a girl's girl, they said. She's putting them on, they said. So she was, she was there doing her thing. She's first fam, she's AKA Alex Holly. So she had a good time. We saw each other, saw a couple of just people that I'm just huge fans of and what they do. But the week was great. I mean, I was there for the business. As you all saw, I was a delegate. I was a 40 under 40 honoree. I was a part of the local host committee, which meant that I was volunteering. I'm a life member of the fraternity, which life member, some people say, what does that mean? It means that I don't have to pay dues, or the national dues for my fraternity for the rest of my life, because of an investment that I made very early on into the organization once I crossed, that then allowed me to be exempt for the rest of my lifespan in, forever. So it's a big deal. And I did it very early. I became a life member. For those who are in Greek life know that what I did was very, very unprecedented. I became a life member a week after I crossed. And so for those who are Greek, you understand. Yeah, that's how serious it was. So that's noted. And also just doing the work, I just was all over the place. I had to, I was a delegate. I think I mentioned that, but being a delegate, you have to vote on things that impact the fraternity and organization. So anything, whether it's dealing with, where we're going to go for this and how we're going to change this and the bylaws, the Constitution. I participated in that with hundreds of extremely intelligent Black and brown men. And listen, this is not for the meek, okay? This is not for the meek. Listen, fraternities do more than just party. We also do community service. We also do a lot of, legislative, important operational logistical things too. A lot of mentorship, a lot of programs. And so people see the parties, and the parties are great. Of course, I love the party, but there is so much other important work that was happening that isn't for the public's business. I won't share what was being discussed and what was being done, but so much other important necessary work gets done. And so I was just making sure I did that. That's why y'all always saw me in a suit, and I rarely wear suits. I rarely wear ties. I'm not even a suit and tie guy technically, but I do look good in a suit and tie. I mean, but I was like, oh my goodness, all these suits, all these ties. And only Alpha can get me in a suit like that. I mean, normally you'll catch me in a nice blazer, got the, button up, shirt, but I rarely do ties outside this. And if I do galas, my rule is always bow ties for galas, long ties for everything else. And so that has been my standard. But it was great. It was just, I was in love. I was in awe of everything. So I did the business, the connections I made. I connected with a fraternity brother named Shannon Harden, who is a proud out Black gay city council president of Columbus, Ohio. And he's gearing up to run for mayor. A Black gay man in his 30s who's an alpha. He went to Morehouse for undergrad, so he is that too. He is a Morehouse brother for folks that go to Morehouse. But he's doing it, and he came to Philly, and you might have seen him on some social media with some elected officials who he linked up with and met with. But he is the mentee of our fraternity brother, Governor Westmore of Maryland, which was even more exciting because I'm such a Moore fan. And so just to be able to connect with this guy and just, see what the politics are like in Ohio. And that was definitely a core memory for sure. One of my favorite memories and experiences also was Reverend William Barber, who is a fraternity brother, but also a long time civil rights advocate, activist who advocates for poor people. He has a Poor People's Coalition. He advocates for the working class. He's a progressive on so many levels. He gave the keynote at the Life Membership brunch, or was it brunch? No, it was lunch. It was lunch this time. And I don't know if they recorded, they probably did. But definitely one of the top 3 best keynote speeches I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, he had me crying at the end. Those are the memories. Those are the things. Like, it's stuff like that like gets me excited. People always talk about the parties and drinks and all that, but it's stuff like that. It's like those things. It's like I was telling someone the other day, like, and for those my fellow millennials and Gen Xers who remember the BET Awards when it was like the BET Awards. What made the BET Awards great? This year they kind of returned to that this year, which I did like this year. I like the first half of this year. It kind of dragged a little bit for those who watched. But what I used to love about the BET Awards when I was younger, which I think I appreciate more so now in memory than in the past. But I always remember how I was exposed to seeing living legends on stage performing. Like, I remember James Brown and Michael Jackson came out and put that robe, that cloak on James Brown when he was dancing. Like, I never forget that. Like, Prince. I never forget the Prince tribute, the Patti LaBelle when she performed and she threw her shoe in the air. Like, there's just certain memories of like moments like that where I was exposed to a lot of these greats. I listened to them through my parents, but like seeing them get their roses while they were living, seeing them, be celebrated in this way, like that was great. That used to be great. And so this is the type of events where, because they don't get that type, like you will never see so many of these Black musicians get that type of praise or tributes or any other award show or any other type of platform. So it was always special to watch it because these are people that we all know, Charlie Wilson, folks like that. Like, these are Black, like these people go platinum in Black households, but they, some other folks may or may not have heard about them. Like Rick James getting his tribute and singing, and having the I'm Rick James bitch moment. It's like, those are those things where you just don't get anywhere else. So to hear this incredible man give this speech, and his theme was, don't bow down. Don't bow down. And he was talking about just the world that we're in. It just was really timely. And it just spoke to other things going on and what, just in life, and it was the right speech at the right time. And his life story is incredible, and he's just great. So yeah, it's just like those are the moments I think about, and would make this convention just fabulous. So yeah. Now to the parties, to the social. One thing I love about a convention, and those who are convention goers know, nothing like a Black convention. Let me just start off by saying it. A Black organization throwing a convention. Listen, I've been to very different ones. I just went to a conference the week before. There's just certain elements that folks need to understand. There's 3 parts. There's the lobby. Okay, that's where the bar is at. The lobby. Okay, where so much is going on. It doesn't matter. There's a lot going on in the lobby, right? Then there's the suites. Okay, because we got to talk about the suites. We're going to get to that in a minute. The suites. And then there's the parties. And sometimes you can do all 3, because that's exactly what I did. Sometimes you're only going to do one of the 3, or maybe you might do 2 out of the 3, but everybody knows, right? So the lobby is what I call the watering hole. This is where everybody starts. You go there to figure out what's the move, as they say. Some people just found them a good seat at the bar. We was at the Courtyard by Marriott. Now, I stayed at the Notary Hotel because I just needed my peace and my quiet. But I did go over to the Marriott courtside, and I went there. Great time. Yada, yada, yada. Marriott, did my thing. So I would go to that lobby, and everyone's there. Everyone wants to know what's going on. What's the move? Now, there's some people that got a good seat at the bar. They're going to be with their friends. They older. They like been there, done that. I'm not going to any parties. I'm over here chilling at the bar. I done found my section. We good. Some people are playing spades. Some people are doing other things. Flirting. All kind of stuff is going on in the lobby. So that's the first part. Now, I went and I just was there to see the fans and also connect with fraternity brothers. Some people, I was just there taking selfies, seeing people, saying hi. I use it as a meet and greet. I go and just touch base with people and just do my thing. And that was also where the 40 under 40 group met. We had our reception. We did a cheers. We was all there. This is 40 under 40, which is 40 men of alpha. That's under 40, the age of 40, that basically are in various industries. And this was a celebration to honor us. And I got in and did my thing, and the love was great. So it was great to connect with them, but also it was just great to see other people that was out there. There was a lot of single women out there mingling some single guys that are not in a fraternity that was looking to also mingle. Listen, it was something for everybody at this convention. I'll say that. So lobby is where I go to meet and greet. Now the suites. Suites are confusing because for those who know, right? Suites are like grand. A good suite, a good hospitality suite includes some really good food, some good finger food. Now, are you going to have dinner? Maybe. But it's really good finger food and a good stocked bar. So I was a part of the local host committee. I, of course, am part of the Mighty Row chapter of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Now, it's Row chapter, but we call it Mighty because it's history. We're the only single letter alumni chapter in the entire fraternity. It's a pretty big damn deal. And we're the 16th house of Alpha. We were started in 1914, only 8 years after our founding date of the fraternity itself, 1906. So we were baby. We were one of the few in Philadelphia. We were the ones. We are the historic Philadelphia chapter. Now, there's other chapters in Philadelphia, okay? And I love them, okay? But we got to know, Row it's exceptional. So I came through Row. And so it's like, when they ask you, what school did you go to? Where do you go to? And you tell them what school, like, oh, okay. We're like the Ivy League of the, everybody's great. But love my chapter. So we had a suite. Then the regional area the district area that contains all of them. They had their own suite. And because I was a part of both of the, I'm a part of them, I get entry into these different suites. free drinks, free food. I'm having the time of my life. Now, for me, if you're somebody who, I didn't pay for one drink. I didn't pay for one single drink at this convention. I refused. I did not buy a drink because it was so much access that I had as a VIP. Oh yeah, I was also a VIP, which was a whole nother experience because I got a gift box with this really good honey whiskey, and it was so great. It was from a company called Amber and Opal, who gave us this whiskey, and they're Black owned and they're made in Maryland. So if you're a Maryland person, Baltimore, Maryland, wherever, you know Amber and Opal. They're in Timonium, Maryland, and they're Black owned. Herbert L. Rice II is the co-founder. I believe he's frat. And this is Amber and Opal. And we all got a bottle of that. And it was some great, listen, I'm excited. Mr. Johnson's going to enjoy it because he's a whiskey guy. So I think he's going to enjoy it. But it's like a honey infused botanical whiskey. It's something special. And they gave us a glass, and we also had a VIP suite. So I had access to that suite. So I was just going through all my suites. I was very sweet this week. But there was a lot of those suites. So I would go there, and that's where you go to mix and mingle. That's where you go to pregame. So I would pregame at those suites. And also, it's people I know, so you could relax a little bit. You could talk your shit. That's what the lobbies, that's what the hospitality suites do. That's like the real mixy, invite only type of energy. Now, some people will just stay in the suite all day, all night, which I ain't mad at them. Unlimited food and drink, and you somewhere cute, and you with people you like, and you got comfy seats, wonderful. Some people stay in the lobby because that's all they can do or feel to do. But then there's the parties, right? And so the parties have a life of their own because, people are doing their own thing or whatever. And so the parties have a life of their own. And what I like about the parties is that, there's, that's where you go to dance. That's where you go to shake it. That's where you go to really turn up. And it's interesting because that's where the generational change shifting. A lot of the older folks I know that were more of the prestige and the more, long-standing members of the fraternity, they were in suites. And then the young people who kind of didn't want to buy a ticket to the party or felt like they're not really a party person, but they still want the element of it, they were in the lobby. And then there's people like me who did all three. I worked my way through. So I would come in to that hotel, go to the lobby, do my highs, my greetings, my love, my selfies, all that. Then go to the suite, pregame, talk my shit with folks that I know, and then head out to the party. And that would be my grand conclusion. So that's what I did. Every single night there was a party. The first night was Monday night. We was at the Pyramid Club. Of course, I'm a proud member. Had to support the frat. There was a really great event. And also one of the people that came to support was a Kappa named Senator Sharif Street, State Senator Sharif Street, who was running for Congress. He was there, greeted us, welcomed us to the city of brotherly love and affection, showed all sisterly affection, showed all the love, was a great host, kind of came through and just welcomed us and things like that. Listen, one thing about that's a politician right there. He gonna know. He'll even step into a different territory, okay? But it's all love. It's all divine love. He was there. So many other dignitaries were there during that time. The general president of our fraternity came through. It was a nice Pyramid Club. The Pyramid Club was nice. It was a nice soft kickoff, right? The next day was the VIP reception, and that was also the kickoff party for the VIPs, and that was at the Comcast Technology Center. It was in that room. For those who went to my book signing, they had it on that floor. Not the Robert Forum, but the market area where they have the open, it looks like there's the food court is nearby and it's this big, huge view. We had the reception there, and that was Tuesday night, and that was really cool. Then Wednesday, we had the kickoff opening, welcome to Philadelphia reception. That was epic. It was in the the Pennsylvania Convention Center, the main grand floor. It was huge, and over 2,000 people were there, and it was a public event. So this was open to everybody to come through and see what we're about. And there was also a cool reception. It was so much fun. It was a nice little get together. I mean, everyone was there. And the mayor came. Mayor Cheryl Parker came and she spoke. I saw her. I gave her a hug and said hello. Thank you for coming, and kept it moving. I don't listen. I could be disappointed in certain moves that people make, but I'm always going to be a gentleman. And she's a lovely, Delta woman, in her sorority. She's a Delta. And so there's a space and place for things. And some people, don't understand how that works, but there's a space and place for things. She's there to support my fraternity. She's there to encourage people to shop. That was her trend, because there was also the Young Dems like conference going on in Philly at the same time simultaneously this week. So there was a lot of action and energy going on. The city felt like it was lit. And I think we need to have more of that to really get the city excited. But you got to really come through with a plan and execution, which brings me to the party. So I'm a part of the local host committee. We were the only group that put on as a local host committee. Like, these are all the local chapters. This is Rho, of course. There is SML, which is Sigma Mu Lambda chapter. There's ZOL, which is a Zeta Omicron Lambda. And then there's also ODL, which is Omicron Delta Lambda. And they all are a part of the PAC, which is the district, like, regional group or whatever. So we all, as chapters, we have representatives. So I was the representative of Rho for the, social events group. And so I represented my chapter and helped advise and show up and volunteer and do whatever to make sure these events went great. So that kicked off on Wednesday. We was at Winston Social Club. Lovely time. I'd never been fully into Winston Social Club before. This is not Winston on the Water. This is Winston Social Club. This is on like 3rd Street or whatever. Great venue, great space. I got it with my girlfriend, Charnay. She's AKA. She was there. We partied. I saw so many different people. It was like a homecoming almost. Some people I loved and some people I don't really care much for, but they all wanted to say hi anyway. So I said hi back, but that was about it with those people. But anywho, great time there. Lots of just action. But it was a great kickoff. And I was like, okay, this is like Wednesday. So everyone's not fully at the convention yet. But the numbers that was at that party, I was like, ooh, this is only going to get crazier. So then the next night was Thursday night, which was River Deck. Kavanaugh's River Deck. We stayed on the Columbus Boulevard strip. Like, every party I'm telling you about was on the same Columbus Boulevard area. Like, everything was like organized like that. So that party was like it was called the Black Fifi or whatever it was. It was like a Caribbean Jamaican dance hall type of party. And that was super fun. That was really fun. Friday night. That is when all hell broke loose in a good way. Friday night. And that was the party that I signed up to volunteer for. So I went to every party, even though I wasn't thinking I was going to, but I ended up going to every party. But Friday night was the Old Gold John. Oh my God. It was at Liberty Point. Now, I've always had mixed thoughts about Liberty Point as far as their food and everything goes. But when I tell you, we shut that party down. It was about roughly probably 2,000 people there. It was epic. But that venue. So here's what I realized about Liberty Point. I'm going to concede to some things that I've said prior. And look, minds change with new research. Liberty Point, I don't think, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but I don't think it's ever been that damn lit my entire time seeing that inception of it. It's been around for about 5 years, that whole, the way they turned it out. But that was a party. I enjoyed and I'm never outside like this. And I don't plan to go outside like this. I'm going to tell you, I'm a diva. I'm a little diva. Y'all know me. Because I know, you're like, oh, Ernest person. Listen, I will always show up for a real party. Real party means everybody's dancing. Guys, girls, old, young, everyone's having a good time. The DJ's doing their thing, and it's a good time. See, the problem is, and this is, see, there were so many elements that made it a good time, right? Because I realized the straights, if you go to a party with just the straights, the party can be whatever. But these are like college educated. These are, they're Greek. So by nature, they're going to stroll, they're going to step. I realized that's what it is. It's like, and also the majority of them were mostly millennials and younger Gen Xers. Not a lot of Gen Zers at this party because you had to be 21 and up. So to a certain extent, there are some Gen Zers that were there, but like, this is a party where this is my age group. We dance. We like music. The music was our type of music. We knew all the dances. And so it was infectious. And so I just really loved that party. Like it was like that took me back to like the years when I was in college. Like those are the parties I remember. I don't see that many parties like that anymore. And if I do, it just feels too much. This was just so easy. It was so effortless. It wasn't the long line at the door. I mean, there was a line because people was getting in, but people were just getting in. It wasn't none of that fiddle faddle. I just hate how the nightlife scene in Philly and just in general in this era we're in, where they were, we were just talking to a friend about this, like how bottle service killed the nightclub. I struggle with that because I'm a bottle girl. Like I have to have a section in the club now because I don't want to be out and about with y'all. I think the pandemic and COVID made me that way too. But nonetheless, I say all this to say that I am very particular about, my experiences. Like if I don't know the clubs, like you're not going to catch me at Noto or Roar or Reserve Lounge anymore unless I'm in the little section. Because I need to be away. I want to dip my feet in, dip my feet out. I'm just not trying to be on the floor all night. But this, because it was fun. Because we were just letting loose. And we were just and like everyone wasn't it wasn't none of the pretentiousness. I loved that party so much. Definitely one of the biggest highlights of my convention experience was that party. And I was just so happy that it was a night that I was like working the door. Cause I saw my friends. My friends all came out. It was just, it was fun. So love that down. That was Friday night. Saturday night was the Black and Gold Gala, which you all saw. Old Gold and Black Gala, because there is a difference. Black and Old Gold Gala. Let me get it right. Lovely. It was at the Marriott ballroom, main ballroom. Fabulous time. Y'all saw me in the tux, I like wearing tuxedos. And I have my own. Like I told you all, it is 2025. I told y'all last year, every good gentleman, every grown adult, every grown gentleman that's out and about must own a tuxedo. Buy a tuxedo. It's the best. It is the best, one of the smartest investments I made in my fashion in recent years. Like, owning a tuxedo makes things so much easier. I have a black one. I have a navy one. I have the vest and the bow ties to go with them. But I used to go to galas like that maybe once or twice a year. I have found myself, I've been to like 3 or 4 already this year. If I would have rented a tux, the one I wanted at Men's Warehouse, that many times, I could have bought one. I've rented a tux so many times that I was like, it's time to just invest in one and just buy one. And I'm so happy I did when I did. So, yeah. So shout out to owning a tux. I encourage all of you all. If you're a gentleman and you're like, don't know what you want for Christmas, and then your spouse or someone wants to get you something, tell them, get me a tux. I want to buy. Now you pick your own tux out, but be like, look, I want a tuxedo. Like, I want a tux. Put some money on me to get a tux and encourage me to get a tux. Get me a Men's Warehouse gift card for like $500 so I can go and get me a custom tux. Now, that's going to put some money on it. You might have to still pay a little bit more, but like, put it out there. I think my goal is, I'm on a mission. I want every man that's out and about in town to own a tuxedo. Okay. We're not doing any more rentals in 2026. You got a year. I'm holding y'all all to it. You all better own a tux if you don't already. That is the assignment. That is on my list of things. That is my mandate to men. Own a tux. Now, women, I don't got to tell y'all to own a gown. Y'all got gowns for days. Y'all been on it. But men, not owning a tux is a thing out here. And get you some cufflinks. Okay? Own you some cufflinks. Multiple pairs and sets of cufflinks. Get you some cufflinks. And make sure you have a full cufflink set that includes the buttons that go on the tuxedo shirt. Do you have a tuxedo shirt? Buy the tuxedo and buy multiple tuxedo shirts. And get your own vests. And get some bow ties. See, it's funny. It's a lot of these men out here that want to tell women to get this and do this. And y'all need to have y'all, blah. You a five. Well, I'm getting the men together for y'all. Brothers, it's time. It's time. Own a tux. Get you some cufflinks. Get you a bow tie. If you want to walk around here and say you're a boss, it's time to step into your bosses. If you're going to sit around here and be rating women on whether they're a 10 or a 5 or whatever, have you rated yourself? Have you held yourself to the same standards you holding other people out here to? Are you the 5-star looking for another 5-star, or are you the 2-star that's still talking about how somebody was bad or whatever back in the day, and I'm looking at you and I'm looking like, how do you even open your mouth to speak? Oh, y'all was gonna get a read in this podcast. Don't come on, y'all know y'all was gonna get a read. So I went in my tux, fabulous time, had a great time. And then I switched out, made my rounds, and made it to the final party, which was the finale, because Alpha, Phi, Alpha. So we said the finale. We all played with our symbols and names and things. And so that was at Fringe Bar, packed, lovely, indoor, outdoor. That party was the capacity for that party was crazy. But I went, had a good time. It was more chill. It gave kickback vibes, still active, still vibey, but it was like a nice way to like still mix and mingle. There was dancing, but it was a nice vibe for what was a very beautiful week. We raised so much money, and the money goes, because we're a local host, goes to support the local chapter. So, all of you all who bought tickets, Alana, I don't want to forget anybody, all of you all who bought tickets, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for doing the bundle package. Thank you for buying tickets every night. All of that money, those proceeds, is going to support Road Chapter and the various other Alpha chapters. So for all of you all who bought tickets and showed up to that event, thank you so much. You don't know how much that's going to make a difference. And I was determined, like, one thing about me, no matter where I go, I'm going to fundraise. Where is the money? Because we need the money. And so I'm very excited. But thousands of people came, thousands of dollars was raised, and I'm looking forward to, for the money to go to a good cause. So we're happy about that. So I want to say this to say that. Just another piece of advice for folks in these conventions, okay, that want to have conventions. Let me say this. Always go where the locals go. There were a couple of other parties that I heard about and I saw. Some of them got canceled, as they should have, because we'll get to that in a minute. But these, at a convention, a lot of people want to capitalize off of it in certain ways. And quite frankly, I was offended that, especially for us, like if it was the FIFA World Cup, everybody make their money. It's a corporation. If Amazon's having a conference, who gives a fuck about who's But black organizations like Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, like groups like that, black journalism groups, whatever, you got to give deference to the local groups, the local chapters, the people that's doing that on the ground work, because the money that if you're going to invest back into the city to which you come from. So, or you're located at, right? I believe in that, because there were people throwing all these parties using our logos, our names. Cease and desist letters were sent using our names. So there were people in the fraternity brothers and others that were thinking, oh, this must be Alpha, this must be this. It was not. And so when you saw parties popping up and going away, it was because of that. Because how dare you not even be a brother of the fraternity? Some of these people weren't even Divine Nine. You just saw folks were in town and use our names and namesake to try to advertise and get people to come to your stuff. Like, that's just tacky. You could have collaborated, right? You could have collaborated. You could have found a way to say, hey, let me support, but no, you're just going to just throw your own thing, have your own parties, and think that no. So a lot of parties like that got canceled, the last minute shut down, and y'all got refunded. And what did y'all do? Because I saw some of y'all put that money back. Y'all came back over here. Y'all started seeing my IG story. It was like, where is this at? What party is this? I didn't know about it. That was why we wanted to ramp it up. And everyone did that part. So everybody in that local host committee, shout out to you all. Y'all know I love y'all, because we really did hold it down and make sure that people saw a Philadelphia that we was proud of, because we knew it was going to be hot. We purposely put our events in areas by the water side because it was a nice view, areas where we could be loud, right? No arrests, no police, no fights, non-violence, like our prolific, fraternity brother, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., right? No violence. Everybody was cute. It was a good black time. It was professional. Everybody was, grown. It was just, I was proud of us. But that's because you have to know the vibe, you have to know the crowd, you have to know the scene and stuff. And like people just having their little parties at these little like tight bars, stuff, treating people like trash at the door, upcharging folks and things. And we didn't do any of that. We knew what we wanted, and that just created a really great experience that made people go to every single party. People walked away with numbers, new girlfriends, new situations. Look, anything can happen. I met Mr. Johnson at a party, at an AKA party, actually, when we was in college. That's when we first laid eyes on each other. It was during new student orientation. And it was a party that the AKAs were throwing in their house. Even though the girls were AKAs, but it wasn't an AKA party, but it was like a party. And I call it a rent party. I remember being a rent party because I was helping with the door. But I came and we was at this party, and it was just, so you can't find somebody. People say you can't find love in the club. I mean, relatively speaking, we were both at Ivy League School in college, so maybe we met at college. But you just never know where you're going to meet the person. So somebody I know somewhere met some people that they might end up becoming their next spouse. You just never know. But it was just such a good party. And so everybody who came out and supported, we loved it. I love you. Thank you so much. Yeah. And throughout the week, I had some fun. I went to Cafe Click and celebrated Bastille's Day early this week. I was out with my girl Sharon and Laura Schwartz. She was dope. We just had a good old time and caught up. Cafe Click is where it's at. They had an Aperol event too, like an Aperol Spritz Day. I couldn't go because I had a convention. But it just seemed like that Cafe Click over there in the Comcast Center area, that seems like to be its own little thing. And in spite of Center City sips and dips and, what they call it, City drinks, Center City drinks now, I call it. But yeah, this is a week. This was a great week. And then what did I miss in the world? And which brings me to hot topics. I don't know what is going on, except we're seeing what's going on in real time. PBS has lost funding. NPR got some massive cuts. Public media, as we know it, on a national level, is taking a major hit. This is what happens when you don't fund. We know Sesame Street has already moved on to HBO Max, and it's now HBO Max again. But this bill, the funding cuts, the stuff that's happening with this, it's not good. It's just not good. So, yeah. This is what you voted for. This is what you voted for. Don't, some of y'all clearly did not vote for it. But for those who did, you walked yourself into it. And there's a lot going on right now. It's a lot happening politically. But that just took me for a strange loop. And I'm just, the people that's working there, we just got to fund. When you see those fundraisers asking people to donate to PBS, public broadcasting station, NPR, national, public radio, which is an affiliate to WHRY. WHRY is an affiliate of NPR. It is the local NPR of Philadelphia. Y'all better listen. I was battleground ready for this. I saw the writings on the wall. People didn't want to listen, and here we are. So there's also other things going on in MAGA world that has caught my attention. Marjorie Taylor Greene voted alongside Tlaib and Omar, the two members of that squad, to cut U.S. funding for Israel. The House of Representatives did reject cutting $500 million in U.S. funding for Israel, hours after they, bombed the Holy Family Catholic Church in Gaza. So, you see where we're going with that. But yes, hardline America Firster, and a staunch MAGA supporter. Okay, she voted alongside progressive Democratic Congresswomen Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. Okay, now that vote was a 422 to 6 vote. This was last Thursday. Because they was trying to cut funding for the Israeli Cooperative Program, which is an agreement through which the U.S. provides Israel with $500 million to boost its missile programs. This is also a separate allocation from the $3.3 billion that the U.S. sends Israel as a security assistance every year. And Marjorie Taylor Greene went off in her statement. She said, quote, Israel bombed the Catholic Church in Gaza, and that entire population is being wiped out as they continue their aggressive war in Gaza. Okay? She says, my amendment would strike $500 million in funding for nuclear-armed Israel's missile defense system. The U.S. already provides Israel with $3.8 billion annually in foreign aid. $3.8 billion. That's a lot of money, is what she says. She also adds, additionally, the April 2024 security supplemental included $8.7 billion for Israel, even though Israel, nuclear-armed Israel, has universal health care for their citizens and subsidized college for their citizens, she added. Here in America, we're $37 trillion in debt. My amendment will ensure an America First Department of Defense, and that is exactly what we need. So, there were 6 members of Congress that voted to withhold that $500 million after 21 months of its war in Gaza, which has left more than, reportedly, 58,000 Palestinians dead. Many of them, of course, are women and children. The House ultimately approved $832 billion in the 2026 U.S. military spending. So that is where we are. That is where we are as a people. That is where we are. So for some of you all who are questioning and trying to figure out what's the purpose, what's the reason, this is how. I tell you, a broken clock can be right twice a day. We're seeing a very major shift. Now, there are people that got some critique because of what's going on over there. Where's AOC on this? AOC had gotten a lot of pushback, but she defends voting against the amendment to cut aid to Israel. She said it did nothing to help Gaza. So her statement she put on social media on Twitter was, Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment does nothing to cut off offensive aid to Israel, nor end the flow of U.S. mutations being used in Gaza. Of course, I voted against it. What it does do is cut off defense Iron Dome. What it does do is cut off defense Iron Dome capacities while allowing the actual bombs killing Palestinians to continue. I have long stated that I do not believe that adding to the death count of innocent victims to this war is constructive to its end. That is a simple and clear difference of opinion that has long been established. I remain focused on cutting the flow of U.S. mutations that are being used to penetrate the genocide in Gaza. That's a strong statement. People are upset about it. People feel some type of way about it because they feel like she should have, been alongside of other members of the squad. Okay. Listen, politics is so unpredictable. But what I will say about Marjorie Taylor Greene is that as a Republican, she, as a MAGA supporter, she has an identity. And that's the problem with these Democrats. Democrats are just so loyal that they don't understand that in certain ways, you can agree with a person on one thing and disagree with them on another. You can find some common ground to get to that, to a conclusion. It does not have to always be always one way or always the other. And I must say that it is admirable that she can be able to, make her principles align. Even though she's batshit crazy, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she is still a problem, and I am not a fan of her by any means. But what I'm seeing is the consistency that in her views, in her madness, there's a consistency that she's trying to maintain, and that Republicans seem not to any other time. But they're starting to shift in that they're like, why is Israel being a priority if we don't do this for the people? Like, I don't give a fuck. That's their attitude. These Jewish political figures that oftentimes try to pit and act like Trump and conservatives were better at Israel than Democrats, they're starting to see a contrast, because that laissez-faire, hands off, we want to be isolationist ideology that Republicans and conservatives have had for a long time, it is now getting to even Israel. Because for a long time, Israel was like no one, Israel, whatever they want, whatever they need, we're not touching that. But everybody else, we'll be whatever. Even with the Ukraine, like, there were people a lot of Republicans over the Ukraine forever, but meanwhile didn't even care to write a blank check to Israel for anything they wanted. Now you're seeing a shift with them that's like, well, wait a minute. I mean, at this point, why even entertain Israel is what they're thinking. Again, I'm not speaking for myself. I'm analyzing the current political space. But that's a big damn deal. And it makes people have to reconsider, like, this war, which I personally struggle with the word war, because I feel like the war is not between Palestine and Israel. Israel is not having a war is equal. The war is Israel and Hamas, but unfortunately, Israel thinks they're going at war with Palestine. They have conflated Palestinians with being Hamas. They have conflated Palestine as just being terrorists, when it's actually Hamas, which, yes, contains some people from Palestine, some Palestinians, right? But they do not reflect 58,000 people who've died. 58,000 people, many of them innocent, women and children. It is inhumane, it's unjustifiable, and at this point, you're killing hostages. Israel has killed some hostages in their attacks. So even if you was to say, look, they need to do what they gotta do, whatever it takes to bring the hostages home, which I want the hostages to come home. But I don't want 58,000 innocent people to be killed while you're also killing hostages in the process of killing innocent people to try to kill a terrorist operation that may or may not still be very much so amongst, because at this point, where Gaza is inhospitable, many people that live over there have lost their homes. Where are they? I feel like Hamas is becoming the new weapons of mass destruction. Now, not saying that the weapons of mass destruction did not exist, but the pursuit of looking for them, is the end justifying the means, is becoming a question. I don't have the answer. I have an opinion. But you have to ask yourself that question. Where is that line for you? Where is that standard for you? And I think some people are starting to get tired, because how do you keep telling your constituents you have no money for them when there's a country that you're funding, right? You're giving them billions of dollars, and you're giving them that to be safe and protected. They got universal health care and college affordability, things that this country does not have. How are we no longer the standard anymore as a country? How does America not become that standard? We're giving other people resources to be the standard that we still have yet to have in our own backyard. That sounds a little backwards. It sounds a little backwards. A lot of backwards, one would argue. So, some things got to move. Some things got to move. And it's some interesting conversations being had. That being said, moving along into some of the other crazy parts of this is MAGA is still not letting go of Trump with the Epstein files. Again, we're still talking about it. And my stance on this has been, I think this is a mass distraction. I think that this is a distraction from talking about this damn big, beautiful ass bill that ain't that beautiful, okay? We're spending so much time talking about all of this other shit that we haven't even gotten to the main plot line to discuss the issue at hand, the real issues at hand. Like, what is, there are people that want answers, right, about the files. I mean, Trump, according to the Daily Beast, Trump has been boasting that the Epstein drama has only made him more popular, which is a weird, bizarre victory lap in celebration of a 6-month anniversary of his second presidential term. So now we're 6 months in of Trump in office. Still not looking good. He cannot quit Elon Musk's SpaceX. He's still connected to that. Trump wants Pam Bondi to take the heat over the Epstein crisis. We know he wants to put that heat on her. Meanwhile, in the defense, the Pete Hegseth has lost another top Pentagon aide. Like, it's chaos over there. They want he calls them lunatics. Trump is calling them MAGA lunatics, because they're demanding for more Epstein files. And even Murdoch is gearing up for a fight with Trump over the Epstein stories. Rupert Murdoch is the big head over Fox and all the Fox brands. There's a changing of guard, and it's like, what's going on? Y'all had the envelopes. Trump is calling for the release of the Jeffrey Epstein grand jury testimony. And he says those who are calling and want those files are calling troublemakers. Like, what's going on here? Because Epstein and him had a friendship. And I think this is why it's reading matters, education matters. It's because the whole talk about Epstein, right? And I don't really give a fuck about it. Y'all know what I thought about last week. There's so many things. It's crazy to me. Republicans and even others, right? We're talking about a man who's dead. When thousands of people, millions of Americans with this big, beautiful bill will die. They will die as a consequence of decisions made in this bill. Millions will die. Medicaid is being impacted. Food accessibility is being impacted. Affordable housing is being impacted. Access to education and resources, mental health resources is being impacted by this. People are going to die. People are going to die. And it's reckless. It's reckless. It's irresponsible. It's selfish. It's just, it's not okay. And we got to hold a standard, right? We have to hold a standard. And I just feel like there's just other things happening right now, like I said, that I just feel like it's more important. The Wall Street Journal, which is why this is going on with Murdoch, is that they reported, earlier on Thursday, something that adds even more scrutiny to Trump's relationship with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Just want to put that out there. Okay? Now, the Wall Street Journal, and this is reporting by CNN, the Wall Street Journal reported that Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell asked Trump and many others to submit letters for an album for Epstein's 50th birthday in 2003. 2003, he turned 50. A letter bearing Trump's name included a lewd outline of a naked woman and an imagined conversation between Trump and Epstein, according to the Wall Street Journal. Now, in this conversation, the two men reflect on how they share some kind of secret knowledge about how there's, quote unquote, more to life than having everything. Quote, in this imagined conversation is, "Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret," Trump concludes in this imagined conversation, according to the Journal. The president has denied he wrote the letter. He says he didn't write it. He also filed a libel lawsuit against the publisher of the Wall Street Journal and the reporters who wrote the story. He says, "This is not me. This is a fake thing. It's a fake Wall Street Journal story." This is what Trump said, told the Journal in an interview earlier this week. He says, "I never wrote a picture in my life. I don't draw pictures of women." And Trump added in the social media post, he said, "These are not my words, not the way I talk. Also, I don't draw pictures." So, whether we agree to that, believe it or not, it is what it is. But a lot of people, it just, it's a lot. It's a lot. And, the mega supporters, they want what they want. I think the reality is that they've gotten to a point where the mega supporters are mega supporters not based on their belief or like of Trump anymore. I think it's because they've gotten to a certain part of their ideology where they like the ideals that Trump speaks of without liking him as the person. And so I think that's where we're at. They're like, Trump is no longer the face of MAGA. Like, it seems like the ideas of what it means more to them than the maker, because he's a walking hypocrite. Trump does not believe, in my opinion, half the shit that he says. He does not live the example to which he wants others to live by. That's always been him, right? But I think what's interesting now is that MAGA is starting to go, okay, whatever we don't care what you got to say. We want what we want. We're doing what we want to do. Like the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing her thing. The fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing her thing, in spite of him with Israel, just tells you, he just with Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel. Like, Marjorie Taylor Greene knew that meeting and then still decided to do what she wanted to do, which lets me know she's sticking to the principles that she has different from him. But that also brings up another important point. And this is something that I might talk more about somewhere else very soon. But that MAGA was not really MAGA, that the Tea Party movement was coming, and these ideals have been around, and that Trump actually, because he's a capitalist, a strong capitalist, he capitalized off of that movement, switched parties, the businessman he was, and joined it and became the leader and the face of it. Because the face of it really, I think, at a certain time was Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin was the face of it. But when she fell out of relevance and obscurity and went rogue or whatever, there was no face to that movement really. And Trump capitalized off of it, became the face, reshaped Tea Party movement, it's a MAGA movement, and then did his thing. What he doesn't realize is these people were not indoctrinated by him. See, the liberals and progressives give Trump way too much fucking credit. They underestimate that in reality, Trump's been losing power. Even this election, even though he got reelected, I'm not taking that from him. He did get reelected and people did foolishly vote for him. He lost ground even more so compared to where he was in 2016 to even 2020. Even 2020, he didn't get as many votes compared to where he was, even though he lost. He had more votes in 2020 than he did in 2024. He's losing steam. Not enough steam to lose. The question becomes, was Kamala a weaker candidate just in voters that she couldn't even get higher than the numbers required? She was just too weak of a candidate, not as a person, but just in, I guess, her galvanizing of people that she couldn't get there. But then the question becomes, he had less votes. So there's other elements that played into it, I think. I mean, all kind of things. I mean, racism, sexism, all the things. But I say all this to say that the ground was just not there. The ground was not there. And yet he still won. And so his supporters, they don't want him. He's the president. They respect the president, whatever. But he's no longer their leader. There's a new leader coming. It's coming. Somebody else either is going to take the face of it or it's going to die or it's going to become something else. Republicans have lost the party. There's something else going on. There's division in the House. And it's very obvious to see. But they're fighting too much. Which I don't mind, actually. They're going to lose the House in 2026. They're going to lose the House in 2026. I just, unless the Democrats do something really, really bad, they're going to lose that House. They're not going to lose the Senate. They're still going to, but they're going to lose some Senate seats for sure. I could see some Senate seats being lost, but that House is going to be to the Democrats. That's why I think Trump is trying to do everything he can because he knows he's going to lose in 2026. So he's got to get, I mean, he's strategic. He also knows he's got to get some things done, and he has been able to. He has been able to. Even Republicans who don't even agree with his bills are still voting for them. So it's like no spine, they're bowing down, okay? Which brings me to the Democrats. The Democrats are all over the place. Still are. You got Obama, with his critiques about, Democrats being, need to be, toughen up and all this stuff. It's like, who are you talking to? Respectfully. Because you're not talking about Democratic voters. Talk about the party. I think too often what annoys me about these critiques about Democratic Party and things, Let me be very clear. When I'm talking about the Democrats, I'm talking about the party, its leaders, and its politicians. I am not talking about their voters. I agree with Whoopi Goldberg on this. It's not the voters that's the problem. Democratic voters, liberal, progressive voters, we're not the issue. It is the actual party. It's the actual leaders within the party. It's actual politicians within the party. They're the problem. They're the problem because they're not actually listening to their constituents. They're not actually listening to the people that vote for them. We're telling them what to do. See, to their credit, the MAGA supporters set the agenda for their leaders, and their leaders abide by that agenda for the most part, right? And that's how they have a synergy. We don't listen to what our actual voters want. You're too busy trying to appease Republicans and win them over and trying to appease everybody else that we always have to sacrifice. That's why we didn't show up to the polls. Because you're not giving us anything that we fucking want. You keep talking about middle ground, this, that, and third. They're not talking about middle ground. They're not. Republicans are not talking about let's come to the aisle and figure this out together. They don't give a fuck. We're past the John Boehner crying days. We're past the Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer. We're past those days. The Eric Clapper days. We're past those days. Those days are not here. And they probably won't ever be here. After 2000, after the 2000 election, that is when this country historically began to identify states as colors. That's a red state, that's a blue state. What happened in that 2000 presidential election between Gore and Bush changed the way we talk about politics, see politics, and view it. Now, I was too young, I was a baby, they would say. I don't know a world where, I know that others that are much older than me listen to this podcast. I'm being nostalgic for you all because I don't know, but I can't even envision just myself being in a world where we talked about politics like this. But we are here where people just vote for their party's interests. They don't debate. They don't argue enough. Democrats are still trying to do that. Now, I do agree with Obama's remarks at this private event he was at where he said, they need to stop looking for a messiah. Now, it's not that Democrats are not looking for a messiah. Democrats are looking for a leader. And a leader may not necessarily be a messiah. But what we crave for is a leader. Who is the face of this party right now? Who is the leader of the Democratic Party right now? Who is the voice and the face? Right? Some people say AOC. I think AOC represents what the Democratic voters want. A lot of them do. But she's not the face because she's not in a leadership role that puts her in that position. Who is the face? Because we need to figure it out ASAP. ASAP. We need to coalesce. We need to get behind someone because right now I don't see a agreed leader. Harris is not running for president, I believe, again. So she can't be the leader. Obama is a leader, but he's not the leader of the party right now. We're in a very interesting crossroads because we're just out of party. The incumbent can't do it. The vice president can't do it. None of his people in succession can do it. So we're trying to find out who that leader is. So some people can say Democrats in disarray. The two-party system is not benefiting anybody right now. That's where we're at. So, moving on to media changes. There's been a lot of media changes politically. Everyone's talking about the big, huge one that Stephen Colbert, his show, is canceled. Canceled, y'all. The late night show with Stephen Colbert. He's been doing it forever, won Emmys, all that good stuff. He is no longer going to have a show at the end of May of 2026. He's on his final lap. It got abruptly canceled. They didn't even say they say it was a financial decision, not influenced by anything else. This is CBS shortly after settling with Trump $116 million we talked about last podcast episode. And now here we are in this current situation. A lot of choices are being made. Some people think that because Colbert was very critical of Trump and, they had their own pushback and things, that was part of the decision to settle in a way, and that the TV stations are making their decision. The network is, and Paramount is, because there's that deal happening right now between Paramount, CBS, and they're selling, and PBS and Paramount and CBS are connected, but the selling of the company, and there's mergers, there's all kind of negotiations happening right now, and I think some people argue that Colbert was collateral damage. It's not safe when the rich, white, straight men are out here getting canceled. When even those that are the most privileged, the ones who've been able to skate past these past 8 years without much of blowback, it's getting real when straight white men, rich white men, are getting hit. They're getting the consequences now. Because Joy Reid then got the axe, Tiffany Cross, all these other people, they've been pushed out already. But now they're going for the white meat. That's something. They're going for the white meat now. Shit is getting real. And that's why, like I told you all before, I was very big on diversifying my stream of revenue, my talent, expanding my opportunities, because you just never know. But I never want to be codependent. I never want to be somewhere where somebody can control my altitude, my money, my opportunities. I never want to put that much power in anybody's hands. And so, here we are, but that is going to be interesting to watch how that unfolds and see what else changes might happen at CBS. But it's getting real over there. It's getting really real. And to all of my media colleagues and those in journalism industry, I'm just going to keep telling you all that these companies don't give a fuck about y'all. Okay? They're companies. And I knew that a long, long time ago. Be there, work there, make your friends, make your connections, but the companies are going to do what they're going to do. And they don't care about who gets hit in the reality of that. So just make sure y'all just stay woke. Just stay woke, stay aware, prepare. I'm just seeing a lot of changes in the industry. Helen Ubinas, who's a pretty terrific columnist for the most part, at the Inquirer, she left recently. She's pursuing a job helping Latino journalists in a nonprofit media space. She had a 30-year run, I believe, at the Inquirer. 30 years? She's been there for a long time. Notes from Hell, her column, all that. She's out now. A lot of people are leaving. You're going to see a lot of people exit journalism or change the way in which they do journalism, because they're not going to have any other choice. See, I didn't want anyone to slam the door on me and tell me I was going. I pick up the tea leaves and I move accordingly. It don't got to end. It can end amicably. It doesn't have to end in division and fighting. You do what you do. You serve how you serve. You work it out. That's just how I move. I'm at a point in my career where I refuse to argue about how much I'm worth, how much I deserve, and what I should be doing. There's always a conversation. There's always a negotiation. But if I'm in spaces that are just not getting it, then those are places that just don't get me and don't get me, right? They don't get me and they don't get me. So I'm blessed to be in a position in my career, in my life, where I can say no. And I can also quickly find a new opportunity that's going to give me the things, right? The things. That's important to me. And I think so often people are willing to compromise their principles to feel wanted, to feel included. And I'm just not, that's not what I'm trying to do. So I tell you all, do not bow. That's what Reverend William Barber III said. Do not bow. So moving along. This NYC mayor's race, I have been really following this race. Something about this race, just keeps me on edge, because whatever happens in New York kind of tells us where we're going in Philly to some extent. Listen, y'all. Democrats are starting to get behind Mamdani and Cross. A lot of them are starting to get behind Mamdani. They are. Some are still not. But what's becoming interesting is looking at what's going on with Andrew Cuomo. He is going to stay in the race. That is bad news for Eric Adams. Cuomo thinks he has a Jewish vote, which is a steady vote. Will it be enough, though? Will black voters go for him? Reverend Al Sharpton and others are starting to embrace Mondani. He's going to win. He's going to win. New allegations have came out against Cuomo. There are some Democrats that are trying to either stay out of it or whatever. All I'm saying is, and I'm going to say this again, remember this and remember what I said. This man won the Democratic nomination for mayor. He is the Democratic nominee. They'll be trashing him, to be going on Fox and all these places. Y'all showing y'all ass right now. Hakeem Jeffries, I'm very disappointed. A lot of them playing these little games. Republicans got in line with Trump. There were many Republicans at first that had comments about Trump. Ted Cruz and Jeb Bush. Now look at where Ted Cruz is at and look at where Jeb Bush is at. I mean, I will say, though, the Bushes are not clearly fans of Trump. They don't really fuck with Trump. You can tell they don't. They like, wait a minute, we ain't them type of people. And also, Bush don't like Trump because Trump has always came at Bush's neck anyway. Y'all forgot about that. He never agreed. Now, that's the one thing Trump didn't agree. He did not agree with the war in Iraq. He did not support that. He wasn't in office, but he never was a fan of the war in Iraq. And you got to remember, Obama didn't support it either when he was a senator. So I can see why some of that beef is the way it is. But at the end of the day, again, Democrats, Republicans are fighting themselves within. This is an opportunity for y'all to seize the moment, but y'all too busy want to beef and have your own little petty disputes. At some point, we just got to move on. We just got to be better people. That's all. That is all on that. Because we just have to. Period.
So in local news, this week has been, very chill. I think what happened with DC 33 has definitely shaken up the political discourse around unions, labor, and deals are starting to be reached. Now, we are not talking about the teachers, but the white collar workers of DC 47 reached out a tentative agreement very quickly. The strike authorization was about to strike, and right before it could get any worse, it got better, I suppose. I guess one could say. I mean, it didn't have to go on strike. An agreement got reached, and things have moved on. We don't know what's going on with the teachers yet. There's still a lot of rummagings about what's down the horizon. Talks of school closures. I can't confirm nor deny what might be the future of Overbrook. That has been things I've heard from various sources. The future of Overbrook in West Philly. That's going to be interesting to see what happens over there. I heard a couple other schools, but I'm just really thinking about Overbrook because there's no new money. There's no new money that has went towards advocacy efforts to go to this district, not from the city. The city, I want to emphasize this because people have kind of misquoted this. The school district did receive money from the city, but they did not receive any new money from the city. And what I mean by new money is this budget, the city budget is pretty much going to typically give a certain subplot of money every year to various departments and entities in the city. That's just a guarantee. I mean, if they choose to defund something completely, that's very seldom that they do that. But if they do, oftentimes there's a pandemic, right? But normally it is standard to expect a certain amount or roughly estimate, right? Some people get an increase every year and that increase is considered new money. So when I say new money, I mean it's not what they had previously. It's a boost. It's all these different things. So in the 2026 fiscal year budget, which just started, because they work on a different calendar, it goes from January to January or end of June to January, whatever. I'm sorry, July to July. That's how they do their year. Some people use January to December, but the fiscal year in the city, like some nonprofits, they go from July to July. They go from middle year of the year to the other second half of the year versus a full calendar year that goes from January to December. So it's a little different. So fiscal year 26 is starting. This budget is in place now, the new budget. And so the school district did not receive any additional money than what they previously had. Now, given that their circumstances are about to get a lot different, the quote unquote Biden money that was helping them at a certain point is pretty much about to run out. There should have been some additional funding and supplemental funding on top of the guaranteed budget to ensure that the district could have a better footing on what's about to happen in the fall. What's about to happen in the fall is there's going to be some noticeable, sizable, quantitable layoffs, and there will be some major school closings. That is happening in the fall. That is the forecast. I mean, I'm not a musician. I'm not a wizard. I'm just telling you that the money is not adding up. And if the money isn't adding up, that means something has to go to make it make sense and make sense. So we're dealing with some very troublesome waters there. In addition to conversation around teachers and teacher union, just pay attention to what's about to happen with the schools this fall. And I will say, because I do feel honest to say this could have been prevented. That's what I'll say for now. I want to give people a chance to potentially change their perspective. Maybe something could change in legislation. Who knows? But as of right now, it's not looking too good. So just want to put that on your radar. Now, a lot has been happening with this congressional race that I've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. A lot of you all saw the picture of myself and State Senator Shreve Street. You were like, is this an endorsement? Is this a... Calm down. Calm down. One, I don't just jump out and endorse candidates, especially if I'm covering them and observing them. This is a situation that I'm just analyzing and observing. There's been no endorsements. I don't work on anybody's campaign. I want to emphasize that. I know candidates of interest in this race. I know candidates who've declared. My analysis is rooted on data, trends, history, context. What I think is hard for sometimes people to understand is that when you're dealing with a journalist of my caliber, because not all journalists are the same, but when you're dealing with a journalist of my caliber, sometimes what I say, I can see how some people might choose, based on their confirmation bias, to interpret it as me hating a person, loving a person, endorsing a person when it comes to political analysis. Now, if we're talking about restaurants and other places like that, oh, trust, I don't have any problems telling you. But when you're dealing with politics and you're dealing with certain people, especially in this type of ordeal and what my profession is, I have the ability to acknowledge a person's strengths and weaknesses and still have my personal opinions about them detach from that when necessary. When necessary, let me just say. But in situations where, if I'm saying that Sharif Street is the front runner, he's the front runner based on my readings of trends, data, facts, and history. He is the man to beat. He appears to be the man to beat right now. And he's making some good, some good strengths. And just to be honest, as of right now, I don't see anyone else who has stepped up that's appeared to be a formidable challenger to him. That's just the fact. Some of y'all will say Chris Rabb. I would say, to that, I would say there's an experience gap there. Chris Rabb has been in office for some good time, but the versatility and the diversity of his political experience compared to Sharif Street's political experience, it's like comparing nuts to chocolate-covered strawberries. Like, they're not the same. And that's not to say one is better than the other. I got my own personal opinions I will give on that, but I'm just saying that when you're looking at the resume bar for bar, there is a difference in experience. And some would argue that one with more experience might be having their own problems that come with that. Heavy lies the crown. I agree, right? And to be even more clarifying here, Sharif Street, because he's been in politics for a long time, because he has had these relationships and that rich history, right? He comes with a level of what some people might consider baggage that can either sway certain voters a certain way or not. But he also has his rivals and he also has his supporters, right? But he comes with that history. The same thing can be said for Governor Josh Shapiro. He's been in politics for some time. He's moved in different positions and roles. He's built him some foes and some friends on the way. But these are men who have storied careers and histories. And as somebody, because I am going to say this, even though you might know how I feel about some of the ways in which either one of these individuals moves, specifically Shapiro, right? I can say all of that and know that there is nuance in interpretation. I have a very storied journalist career. I have a very storied career. I've been around for a piece of time. You ain't been in the business, any of us, in office or in any positions or any career for longer than a decade and not pick up some friends, some foes, and anywhere where anything goes, right? There's going to be some level of friends, foes, anything goes. And if you don't have the ability to be honest about that, one, if I meet a person that said they've been in political office for 10 years and don't have any political rivals, you ain't doing enough. Sorry, it's just true. The best of the best had political rivals and haters or skeptics and critics. If you've been in there, now if you've been in office for like 2 years, 4 years, whatever, you're just trying to figure it out. But about 10 years in it, you should have some clear-cut opposition. And I'm not just talking about like voters, right? I'm talking about particular individual colleagues. There has to be something, enough time. Like Sherelle has political rivals and foes, but that's a woman who's had a storied career. Right. And so when I hear people sometimes go, oh, there's some people that don't like them and some people that I wouldn't expect anything different. That's how my career. There are people in this industry that some of you all like that hate my guts. Wish I would go away. Wish I wasn't in the industry. Jealous of my accomplishments. And many of them find me to be a threat and a detriment to their relevance and scope in the industry. That's just what it is. But I've been around for over 10 years. And so there is a level of, complications that come. But there's also several people that love me, love the work that I do, say that I am a beacon of hope for this industry that is having some major transformations, right? What I've learned is that I'm never the absolute best that some people will say I am, but I'm also not the absolute worst that some people describe me as. I am humble enough to recognize that there are things that I do in the business that I see other people do exceptionally well. I'm like, you do that really well. I am inspired. I stay inspired. Even as a good damn journalist that I do believe I am. I think I'm very good at what I do. I look at certain other folks and certain things that they do, not to compare and reduce my swagger. We all have something to bring to the table, but I have the ability to admire other aspects of what some people do in the industry that either I don't do, can't do, don't have the funds to do yet. And I say yet, we got to speak that right. Yet, not ever, yet. I can acknowledge those things and not feel like it threatens my existence or threatens my uniqueness of what I bring to the table. We all have something to bring. And I think too often in politics, people just do too much comparison, but not in a good way. I compare to learn. I look and I say, this person is doing this great. So one person I think about that is my fraternity brother who is just around my age and dope, Phil Lewis. I love the way that Phil Lewis does his social media. I am more on I can't not analyze. I do a lot of analysis. I love that. I love that for me. But I love how he's able to curate the news in a very cool way that brings a lot of traffic and generation to his social media pages, specifically X or Twitter. I call it still Twitter. And when I think of Black Twitter, I think about him as one of those like, you anybody who's been on Black Twitter for the past 10 something years, you know this guy. You've seen him on your timeline. Like he's almost like the Black Twitter encyclopedia. Like he's like our AP, like all of his sources and news that he aggregates on his timeline, all of them, comes from credible sources, factual sources, and he just shares it. And so I just admire that aspect of how he curates his news and how he shares it and showcases it. That's just like, you can see things. I don't like anyone who cannot find those gems in other people in a way. And it's not someone that has to be a celebrity. Like it's easy. Like, of course, Oprah is like, I love Oprah, but like there's people in your peer group that's doing cool things that you can admire and acknowledge and not feel any type of way. And I feel like in my generation and those even younger than me, they struggle with that. I see a lot of older folks do it. And I think because I was trained and mentored by a lot of really respected professional journalists throughout my years. And I see how they interacted with each other and how they navigated their own voice. The goal isn't to take over someone else and trample someone else. The goal really is essentially, and I'm just talking from a business perspective, is to create a lane where everyone is bringing something that is unique to them to the table and find a way to benefit and profit and make money and do well for themselves and soar in their own unique identity. I think the reason the success of my career is because I invested a lot into creating my own lane. I don't like to say brand as much anymore because I feel like the word brand is just always kind of like ambiguous. Everybody say they got a brand, but they really like there's people that have a brand. Like I guess in retro, I have a brand, but there's a lot of people that say they have a brand. I'm like, I don't mean to say this with shade. Brands can be shaped and created by the person, but it's also based on how people receive it. And so audience engagement, a brand is really great when what you're creating and shaping is also aligning with the response or the expectation of the audience. And so in many ways, I brand myself as somebody who is very opinionated, someone who is going to tell it like it is, as some people say, hold people, speak truth to power, hold people accountable. I am in many ways a lot of people's North Star to truth, revelation, and, standing on business. That is the brand alignment, but that's how people see me based on how they engage me in addition to what I put out. Now, of course, there's another sector of it that people will say, I'm messy, I'm shady, and I'm whatever, and controversial, that C word that I can't stand. And in retrospect, there's a branding there. There's a segment of what I do that is very intense, and can be confrontational. I'm a wordsmith, so I'm very big on like, is it messy or is it uncomfortable? Is it shade, Phaedra, or is it just me confronting the elephant in the room? Everyone's going to, use a different euphemism on how to describe it, but I get what it is and it lines with my brand. I know that, right? And so when you have that self-awareness mixed with audience self-awareness, that's a brand. There's a lot of people walking around talking about they have a brand, and I'm just like, but for who? Who knows it? Who sees it? Is the brand in the room with us right now? And I don't mean that to be shady, but again, here I am. But I'm just stating it to say that I get away from the word brand because so many people say it that I feel like it doesn't carry the weight it used to anymore. So brand is like, eh. But what I will say is a core sense of individuality, right? What is unique to you? What's your individual identity? Like, how do you shape that? What are your values? What are your principles? Are people receiving what you're putting in front of them? Is there an awareness there? Is there, that's a lot of work that I think people in the industry are beginning to do now that they should have did a long time ago. And it was shamed upon because the ideas of journalists and journalism has evolved. When I was coming into business, it was already fading, right? But this idea of being objective, objectivity, that annoying O word. And people thought that meant not having a voice, not having a presence, being kind of invisible, and just stating facts. I do think, even though this was already happening, but I do think the Trump era, because of how he targeted journalists, the way that he targets the profession of journalism, journalists needed to stand the fuck up, be more vocal, and defend this work, right? This public service. Because if we don't, it will be defined by a president, a sitting president of the United States that can set a new precedent for how the people, the public, there's been more increased bashing and attacks of journalists since Trump was in office in 2016. And even when he left in 2021, when he departed and came back. But ever since Trump has come into the fold, there has been an increased heightened hate for journalists, fact checkers, and finders. People have completely did. And that was because journalists did not realize as an entity, not individually, because y'all know I knew where I stood, still felt like they had to be invisible and objective in spite of a man who was literally discounting them in spite of it. Like when he took your invisible cloak off, it should have been time for you to be seen and loud and stand on it. And I just feel like overall, the journalism industry, the journalism entity, as we know it, the institution of journalism has failed its own torchbearers. They failed their own leaders and champions. Like this institution, this work has failed its own truth tellers. It's like, what? So I say all this to say, without digressing too much, is that could be the same case for politics. And unfortunately, people just conflate like it's high school. It's like a tabloid. I could see the mayor give her a hug, say thank you for coming to support the alphas, and still be able to be as critical in a fair way to what was going on with her work and everything else. And we're in an interesting era where people want all in or all out when it comes to journalists being able to provide this information. I always say two things can be true at the same time. And I think even looking at beyond this, but just looking at the street situation, Chris Webb has great strengths about him. Personally, I don't know if Chris Webb is going to add, based on his previous history, that's why I say trends in history matters. I don't know for certain if he is going to come into this role if he was to be elected to Congress, if Chris Webb was. I don't think he's going to get elected, but if he were to, I don't know what is going to drive his ambitions once he gets to Congress. Like, I don't know what that question is. Like, is he going to be an additional member of the squad? Is he going to go in there and just be more focused on clashing with other Democrats? Like, I don't know what his giving. But I just find it unfavorable for me right now. I don't know. I think there's some more work that needs to be done, that Rap needs to do, both within progressive communities, but also amongst other Democrats to just figure, to establish where he stands and where it's been. But I think his track record and engaging with Democrats, which are technically, he's a Democrat, right? But just how he's engaged in those spaces, I don't know if he can get the votes to do it. But, Philadelphians don't barely vote. So if they do, it might be surprising. I mean, Mondani was able to do something that no one expected. They thought the race between him and Cuomo was going to be tough, but that's only because they were polling previous voters from 4 years ago. What they didn't consider and what they didn't factor is that Mondani was able to increase a voting pool. He is the highest vote getter for a Democratic mayoral candidate in New York City history. That's nothing to sneeze on. He did that because he was able to get people out to the polls. A lot of people are not doing that. So Cuomo was just benefiting off of the stale, flat, basic Democratic voters who did. They did not assess or realize, like, oh, snap, what if this guy gets more people to the polls? So that's what I think happened there. But back to the main motion at hand. If I'm talking in parliamentarian procedure, it's because I was indebted with Robert Rules of Order this whole week. But back to the main motion. I look at everybody who's involved, who could potentially be involved, and until we get past Labor Day, I will have a clearer picture of what's going to happen here. We got to wait till Labor Day. If you listen to my Inexplicable Season 9 premiere, I talk specifically about if a special election happens, Shree's getting it. But we got to see. We got to see if there will be a special election, because that is going to set the course for everything else that follows, but we don't know yet. So we got to see that. So this week's Ask Ernest, a lot of you messaged me about my alpha journey and experience. You all saw, posts and things that I shared. And yeah, it's been quite interesting to watch. And there's this TikTok trend that makes me think about this, of a video of someone saying, oh, you're smiling more, or you're smiling more, why, or something like that. I'm not on TikTok, but I see when people share the TikTok content on Instagram and on other social media platforms. And it kind of has this video of, oh, you're smiling. You seem like you're smiling more. And it follows up with like the person explaining why or whatever. And so a lot of people have said that about me lately, of just, you messages say, oh, you're glowing, you just seem really happy or whatever. And I mean, it's been like this for a minute, but I think specifically this year, I think part of it is because I'm really in a space where I've seen so much that I've predicted, that I just really wanted come out and happen in a way. But it's not so much of that, but it's more so of a sense of self-gratitude for myself, of feeling validated within, not external. I mean, externally there's been a lot of instant gratification and validation from some folks, but just being at peace with myself, and that a lot of decisions, tough decisions and moves that I made many years back, and made certain decisions to cut certain ties and X, Y, and Z. And I was always, even though I knew it was the right thing to do, I always in the back of my mind have always been prepared for pushback, for quote unquote controversy, for there to be something adverse or retaliatory to happen. And the beauty is, in many of those cases, I did navigate through some of those things. But I'm in an upswing and an upside of realizing and feeling like, damn, I really not only survived this, I thrived at this. And when you're deep in the trials and tribulations part of those journeys, you find yourself not in a state of hopelessness, at least not for me, but you find yourself a little demystified, a little cynical of if change will happen, if progress will happen, things will be better. And I found myself in a place, not depressed at all. I want to be very clear because I know people that really struggle with that. But I found myself in a period of time of expecting the worst, but I was prepared for the worst, and not factoring in, what if I'm not only right, but I can win too. And that's just the pragmatism of Black people in general. That is something that we're born with because of our history, our legacy, where for me, I'm fortunate enough to be in a space where I'm protected. I have that, right? But most of the time, I think when I think about these last couple years, I was in a mindset of, I just need to break free. I just need to, I'm talking about the NABJ shit, just certain relationships and friendships and things. But as I look at certain situations, and I will always be in the mindset of, okay, how do I exit or deal with this with the least amount of blood spilled? How do I move forward? Because I'm prepared for the haters, the hate, this, and what can I do to safeguard this? And I would be very much so protective, and rightfully so. And I would have that mindset. And to me, the victory would be to make it out of any of those situations or conflicts or any of those things with the least amount of like direct harm or injury to myself from whatever the bullshit might be, the blowback or whatever the retaliation is. That was always my mindset. I have not until recently begun to realize, wow, I never prioritized the reality of, what if I'm actually right, which I know I'm right in these situations, like when I decide to cut ties, whatever. But I say, what if I'm right, but then can win? Because I was always in the mindset of, I need to stand on principles with the things I believe in, and who I am or whatnot. And I always felt like I got to pay a price, right? There's always a price for being real, to do whatever. And I'm always factoring this price I got to fucking pay. But I never thought until recently that my mindset on this could be, yeah, there's always going to be a price. And that's what we call insurance. We got that. But can you imagine, what if you get a return on investment? That you get an ROI, that for you making these sacrifices or you dealing with what you're dealing with, that something great is going to come. And not just simply you, the blessing of just being by, just making it through safely. But what if there's something better than just safe? What if there's something that's better than just making it out, fly by? What if there's even more that is because in spite of thereof, therefore thereof, there's more there, right? That's what I've began to see lately and feel, and then not expect or factor that in, that maybe it can go super, super swell, that maybe it can be better than what you imagined. And I think about so many experiences, not just this Alpha Convention. I mean, that's my story has been talked about. My journey to getting here has been talked about so much. And coming to this convention, how many different people that I talked to and just told me personal stories about their own self-esteem, their own confidence. And you realize in that moment, like, if you are ever in that position, that your presence is making an unseen impact and making a very visible one as well. And sometimes you can get caught up in the visible. Like I'm a receipts guy. Show me the receipts. I want to see it. I want to measure it. But there are some times where there are people going through all types of internal existential crises in their life, their identities and things, that are watching you and want you to win, because you winning creates a opportunity, a possibility map, a trail, a journey, an obstacle course that they can now see themselves going through because they've seen someone like you go through it. And I know this, right? But I can't tell you how many times it was said, because I do in some ways am isolated on purpose, because I am protective of myself, of a lot of interactions, because shit has gone south in a way. I've had crazy experiences, and I have been rightfully so guarded. And I'm not letting the guard down per se, but what, because I don't play. But what I have done, and I know when I've made it to an end of a certain journey in my life, that I am open to receiving the affirmations, the appreciation, the joy of others. And not just people I know, but just people. But it takes time, right? You got to go through it. You got to go through different experiences, and you got to live a little and grow a little and do all that. And I have done that. And so I just feel like going to this country, because I don't go outside, and I will not be outside like that. And like, listen, a lot of y'all said, I didn't even know you go to parties. You know, promoters then sent me flyers, like, anything you need. I'm like, oh, this is not my life. Like, I am not that girl. I am not that party girl like that. Like, I like a party, but not them type parties, right? But like, just being visible and being present and showing up to certain things, how so many people want that and value. And I do everything for the people, but just, I am more and more appreciating and recognizing my impact in ways in which I did not even see it for myself. And I say that to a lot of people that do service type work, right? Teachers, professors, doctors, psychologists, lawyers, engineers, all of the people, if you're doing work that is dealing with vulnerable populations of people, allow yourself to receive that joy. You don't think you need it, and you may not necessarily need it, but it's okay to want it. It's okay to receive it. It's okay to lean into it at times, because it serves as a reminder when you're not outside how much you matter. And I think this week specifically, even just recently, just in general, it is meant so much to me to consistently be complimented from people I don't know about what my work is and how it matters and what resonates and what stands out to them. What is the thing they read that made them think or rethink something? It's so many young Black queer men who are in college that are alphas that was at this convention in different phases throughout that week. I can't tell you how many of them came up to me and said thank you. And at first I was like, for what? Like, well, what do you mean? Like, how, and just share different stories about their experiences, about, the rejection they faced in undergrad. Some of them, they struggled to, cross, and just dealing with just the world, right? Homophobia and all the things. And some people who recently crossed in the spring of this year that said when they saw that I did it a year ago, it made them feel like it wasn't too late. Just so many stories. And so just living my life out loud in so many different ways, it touches people and inspires people in different ways. And anybody who's in service work in so much capacity, we're so focused on getting things done and getting them right. I'm not a perfectionist. I'm not. People think I am. My friends know. My friends will say, I'm not a perfectionist, but I do like shit to be in order. But I'm not one of those people that, in the Lit Brothers, I would just say out of the four of us, I am not the perfectionist. I won't tell y'all who it is. Y'all can try to guess, but y'all won't get it right. But I am not the perfectionist in the group. I might be me and I might be the most, me and Jamarcus tied for most flexible. Jamarcus is always down for the count, and I am too. What would I say? I will say I am the most easygoing out the group. Jamarcus and I might be tired a little slightly, but he will even admit it if he was listening. Out of the group, I'm the most easygoing. Most people think I'm the most uptight and most not, but actually that's contrary. I'm not gonna tell who it is. Whoever in the four group, if they ever did like a social media ask the question, like I saw former President Obama and his wife Michelle Obama, they did the whole raise your forever first lady Michelle Obama. Let me get that right. They did the little raise your hand at this, whoever do this. If you all, I don't know who gonna do it. The liberals, we gotta get together and just do one of those. Who's the messiest? Who's the most organized? Who's the most uptight? Who's the first to fight? Who you calling to get bail money? We would do it. We would honestly, the four of us would be sitting next to each other and we would point to who it is. But you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised who's who and what in the situation. But I say all this to say that, yeah, I'm not a perfectionist, but I still am that person where people do work, right? Who do service, who's involving, right? We find ourselves just really focused on executing what we need to execute, that we just never consider a factor in the why it really, like how deep the impact goes. And so I'm reminded of that. And I was reminded of that so much this week in so many ways. And this is what it means to feel seen and heard. Both matter. So, yeah. Just, if you're doing work, allow yourself to receive that love, receive that appreciation, that admiration. It's not to say that it is what defines why you do what you do, but it doesn't hurt to be told from different people, from various walks of life, like even people that was not alphas, like just folks that came out to the parties and different things. Words can't describe it, but just, I see it, I feel it, I'm receiving it, and I'm just saying thank you. So in other news, Shannon Sharpe. So there's a lot going on with Shannon Sharpe. We talked about his controversy. He settled that sexual assault lawsuit. He settled that $50 million lawsuit. We don't know all the details, but you know what's been also interesting is that the OnlyFans, the woman who accused him, her name is Gabriella Zuniga, Zuniga, whatever it is, retires from OnlyFans after the $50 million lawsuit was settled and dismissed. So she settled. She officially quit one day after she settled and dropped her $50 million lawsuit. She's now 21 years old. She's the one who accused Pro Football Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe of rape. Of course, Tony Busby, you've heard that name. That's the guy who tried to come for Jay-Z, said the matter is closed. That I'm going to read the statement. On April 20th, 2025, the Busby law firm filed a complaint in Nevada making several allegations against Shannon Sharpe on behalf of our client. After protracted and respectful negotiations, I'm pleased to announce that we have reached a mutually agreed upon resolution. All matters have now been addressed satisfactorily, and the matter is closed. Neither party's terms of the settlement were disclosed, nor has either party admitted wrongdoing. So it just got settled, like the way Michael Jackson did. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I say all this to tell people that there's a lot of opportunities for communication and to observe what all that entails. I'm going to leave it there. Settled. There's a lot of Broadway shows that are closing as well. Gypsy's going away. Sunset Boulevard is going away. A lot of shows. Betty Boop might be out already. But a lot of the Broadway shows are closing. And if you're somebody who really wants to get into Broadway, X, Y, and Z and do your thing, if you want to see these shows, you need to see them because, look, Audra McDonald, the Queen, is going to only be on Broadway until somewhere in August. These shows are closing on Broadway. So if you have not, the new seasons are coming, by the way, too. Some of the shows last long because the sales go. But, I think after the Tonys and the Buzz, a lot of the ticket sales are not, it's room for new shows. Broadway's about to have a new season coming up very soon. Kristen Chenoweth is coming back with The Queen of Versailles. That's going to be fun. But there's a lot of people coming back to Broadway. Leah Michelle, her ass. She's going to be in this new, not new, a revival that she's in that I've heard about. And it's it is the revival of the musical Chess, which is coming out in fall. It's going to be with Aaron Tveit and Nicholas Christopher. Now, Aaron Tveit was the guy who was in Moulin Rouge, he won the Tony. This is during the pandemic era for Best Actor. He was the only person nominated for Best Actor in a musical, and he won it just without any competition. It's like a Broadway first. It's crazy. But he returns back to Chess, this revival of this musical. So the Pip with Piaz is returning to Broadway. So we're going to see. We're going to see. Leah Michelle is the Pip with Pizzazz, as they call her. But she's going to be she's going to be playing Florence Vassi, which for those who know this show, it's going to be a big deal. It's basically like the themes of international politics, love, and rivalry set against the backdrop of the Cold War. So it's going to be very interesting. The story centers on a love triangle involving an American and Russian chess champion, both vying for the world chess title, and the affections of the woman who manages one and falls for the other. The musical uses the chess game as a metaphor for the larger political tensions between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. This is a revival, so it's come out already, but it's very interesting. So we'll see. She was in Funny Girl for 5 seconds, and a lot of people heard that role. I just struggle with Leah Michelle because she's just a lot. She's a lot. But yeah, it's a lot going on. In movies, the box office is still strong for Superman. In spite of the fact that people called it, had all this shit to say, it's still doing its big numbers. And, Superman is number one at the box office this time with $57 million this past week. And I Know What You Did Last Summer and Smurfs underwhelmed at the box office. Smurfs didn't do that well. This is the one with Rihanna. Rihanna is the voice. And also, you got someone like the movie, I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is a remake. This didn't really come in that strong compared to what Superman was able to do. So I Know What You Did Last Summer came in at number 3 with 13 million, which is very interesting. Smurfs, the new Smurfs film came out. Paramount Smurfs came out with in 4th with 11 million. Jurassic World just keeps doing this big thing, which a lot of people like. I mean, Jurassic World is still going strong. A lot of people are really, into that movie. I can't even keep up. I think Jurassic Park was, my big, my big film or whatever. But I remember when Jurassic World Rebirth, it just came out not too long ago, but it's still going strong at the box office. It's still number 2 on the box office charts. So it's going to be a matter of time to tell. But I think what I will say is I think people are getting a little fatigued with all these long films, like all of these longer, not long, but like these IP, right? Like Smurfs, who wanted this movie? I mean, I know people like Despicable Me. I'm not even going to start my talk on Despicable Me, but it just seems to be the same types of films that people go up for, and it's just like, okay. But Hollywood. So, a lot going on in music. A lot's going on, but a lot's not going on. It's been a very this music is, I don't know, hip hop is trying to do something right now. Pop music is just not popping for me right now. Nothing's exciting me right now, really, in music. I've been listening to older music from last year, Cowboy Carter. I'm re-listening to that lately since I went on a tour earlier this in the spring. But everything is just so I'm like, what's come on, baby, give us act 3, because these girls, Now I know September's coming. I'm excited about fall. I'm excited about specifically some dates, right? I cannot wait to see I just cannot wait to fully embrace both days. The beginning of Libra season, Cardi B's new album. Looking forward to Cardi B's new album. And Sarah McLachlan's new album, which is already getting me. Am I the Drama? Right? September 19th. And Sarah McLachlan's album, Better Broken, same day, September 19th. So everything's coming out September 19th. And yeah, it's going to be a busy day for streaming. Better Broken is just, that's such a good song. The album's called Better Broken. And I've been listening to that song and that music video. This is regarding Sarah McLachlan's new album. Cardi B, I guess Outside, I don't know if Outside's the official new single, but I know Outside was a good way to get everybody excited and ramped up. It did get on the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100. She's still making top 10 debuts on the charts. So, Cardi's doing her thing. She's doing her thing. Megan Thee Stallion has a new boyfriend. Tristan Thompson, whatever his name is. Good for her. I don't know why people are so hell-bent on chasing. This woman has lost her mother. She lost her grandmother. I don't understand why there's so much slut shaming around her. They just won't they just are so mad that Meg gets to live her best life and gets to be beautiful, gets to be with attractive men, get to live a life. And I just don't understand why. I don't know. There's just such an obsession with her in a way that it's just, I don't know. I don't like it. I just can't stand it. Obsession and people just, everything she do, there's always an element of people wanting to have an opinion and overread it, overanalyze it. And I'm just can we just stop? Let's let this woman enjoy her career, enjoy her music. She really does not bother anyone. She did her diss track last year. She did his. His was epic. But at the end of the day, both of them did. Bigfoot, and then Nicki is still somewhere bothered. Now she's beefing with SZA. Now she thinks that SZA's throwing some subliminal diss at her. And it's no, girl, the world does not revolve around you. Then it becomes her questioning SZA's impact. And both of these women are great in their own lane. Both of them have achieved things, right? But at the end of the day, it's Nicki, what are you doing? And it just has gone on and on and on. It's oh, everything's a conspiracy. Everybody don't like her. And it's just look, I'm not denying that there might be some people behind the scenes that are not really feeling her and not trying to really put her on. But then at the same time, it's you don't have the best attitude with people. You have the best relationships with people. My thing is, I just want to see stuff get in writing. Get your money. If you owed between $100 to $200 million, which is some crazy money, go to the courts. Stop litigating on social media. I just don't get it. And it's just so annoying. And other people are getting caught up in some shit just because you don't have the real courage to go after and do it. All these public stuff, all this, it's pointless. It's just pointless. It's a waste. Just my opinion. So this week on TV, let me just start by saying Love Island. A lot of you all watch that show religiously. I do not watch it, as you all know, but because of certain, Dr. Parks and a certain Joe Hamilton really into it. How did y'all like that ending, that finale where no one was together? I've been reading about a lot of behind the scenes drama of that show. What I will say is that I just feel like a lot of reality shows have gotten really bad. Like bad in the sense that they're selecting people. Like remember that little Pop the Balloon Challenge show that that Netflix wanted to do? We ain't heard much about it since. Because I think the problem is that what makes reality TV good TV is either you have washed up celebrities who have nothing to lose, so they're going to spill all the tea, or you have some just really great, interesting, regular people that are just, fun. What's happening on these shows is that they're getting these influencers. And I say disrespectfully, a lot of these influencers don't have any personality. They're dry. They're awkward. They're not anything like what you see on social media. They're not anything like what you see on your TikTok page or whatever. These people are just like us. Well, not like me, but like you all. They're awkward. They don't know what. So they might look good, right? They might be attractive, but they're not coming with the energy and the spice that some people might anticipate. And so these reality shows are so pressed on trying to recruit people with a bunch of followers because to some extent that also helps generate traffic. But can we do better of mixing it with regular, everyday folks? Because that's going to really make the show. I think the problem is with all of these quote unquote influencers, reality TV doesn't feel good because a lot of them sound the same, talk the same, has the same positions. You're not even diversifying the people who are your fans. So I would just say there needs to be a major overhaul with the show. The show needs to have there needs to just be a different direction on casting. Because I could have saw that coming based on what I saw. But yeah, the Emmys, the nominations for the Emmys have come out. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. I love award shows, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see this year's Emmys. Because a lot of old shows have gotten out the way now, so it's made room for people to be able to, get a good shot. There's a lot of new shows that's getting nominated. A lot of the old shows that people are used to have not. So, for example, best drama series is Andor, The Diplomat, The Last of Us, Paradise, The Pit, which you all have been talking about, Slow Horses, The White Lotus. Notice The White Lotus is now in the drama category. A lot of times in the past, it used to be a mini series, a limited series, but now it's in there competing like a regular show because now The White Lotus is a regular show, not a limited series. Best comedy series, Abbott Elementary, The Bear, Hacks, Nobody Wants This, Only Murders in the Building, Shrinking, The Studio, What We Do in the Shadows. These titles are interesting because they could describe my, somebody's sex life. Only Murders in the Building, Shrinking, The Studio, Hacks, Nobody Wants This, What We Do in the Shadows, name of a show, or an affair. You decide. Best limited or anthology series, Adolescence, Black Mirror, Dying for Sex, The Penguin, Munsters, the Lau and Eric Menendez story. So with best lead actor in the drama series, you got Sterling K. Brown, Pedro Pascal, Adam Scott for Severance, Pedro Pascal for The Last of Us, Gary Oldman, Oscar winner Gary Oldman for Slow Horses, previous best lead actor in a drama series winner Sterling K. Brown for Paradise, and Noah Weil for The Pit. This is the reason why this is a very interesting year is because Succession is no longer, in contention. It's done. So there's no more Succession. A lot of the big shows, comedy shows that you're used to, like Ted Lasso, that's gone, So a lot of these shows, new shows, there's a lot of comedies and shows, Veep is going. A lot of these shows that used to get nominated all the time and take up air, they're no longer in contention. So that's why you're seeing a lot of new shows, new nominees and whatnot. Best lead actress in a drama series, Oscar winner Kathy Bates for her turn in Matlock. Sharon Horgan in Bad Sisters, Britt Lower in Severance, Bella Ramsey which was a big shocker, for The Last of Us, and Kerry Russell for The Diplomat. And Kerry Russell's been killing it for a long time. She's been on a lot of good shows. And she doesn't, I don't think she gets enough credit for her acting, because Kerry Russell has been on some big shows. She was in Felicity, for those who used to remember Felicity. She was in The Americans, okay, which was awesome. And now she's in The Diplomat. Like, Kerry Russell's that girl. She's a TV goddess. Like, we don't give her props enough. Also, Britt Lower in Severance, which is popular. Beryl Ramsey in The Last of Us. And then Best Lead Actor in a Comedy Series, Seth Rogen for The Studio. Martin Short for Only Murders in the Building. Jeremy Allen White, 2-time consecutive winner for The Bear. Adam Brody in Nobody Wants This. Jason Segel in Shrinking. Best Lead Actress in a Comedy Series. Pay attention to this category. Uzo Aduba in The Residents, which just got canceled by Netflix. Kristen Bell in Nobody Wants This. Quinta Brunson in Abbott Elementary. Jean Smart, 2-time consecutive back-to-back winner for Hacks. And Ayo Edebiri for The Bear, which she won this in the supporting category two award shows ago. Uzo Aduba, Quinta Brunson, Ayo Edebiri, 3 black women. And the other 2 women are white. This is the first time in Emmy history where 3 black women dominated and had the majority of the comedy women section. Black women in comedy hadn't been nominated for many years in between, or hardly got recognition. But with the rollout of Tracee Ellis Ross, Quinta Brunson, Issa Rae, now we're seeing more representation. Ayo Edebiri, who was nominated last year, but now you got Uzo Aduba. So what's interesting, all 3 of the black women who are nominated Best Lead Actress in the Comedy Series has previously won other categories. So Ayo Edebiri for The Bear won Best Supporting Actress in the Comedy Series for that. Quinta Brunson won Best Lead Actress in the Comedy Series for Abbott Elementary, and the first black woman who's won in comedy for decades. Like, she's like the second to win overall. And then Uzo Aduba, she's won several Emmys, primetime Emmys for various shows that she's done. We forget her. We don't give her enough credit, but she was Crazy Eyes in Orange is the New Black, and she just consistently wins. So some of the previous wins she's won 3 Emmys. She's won Orange is the New Black for Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series, Best Outstanding Guest Actress in a Comedy Series, Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Limited Series or Movie for Miss America. She's won 3 Emmys already, 3 primetime Emmys. So she's that girl, Reminds me a little bit of Regina King. Regina King, I need to look up how many Emmys Regina King has. She's also an Oscar winner too. Can somebody get her a Broadway musical or something, or a Broadway play? Because she needs, we could probably get her the EGOT or Triple Crown at least. EGOT, of course, is the Emmy, the Grammy, the Oscar, the Tony. Triple Crown is what they call it, is when you win a Tony, an Emmy, and an Oscar. Because Grammys is related to music, and so it's hard for a lot of people, except Viola Davis, of course, to win a Grammy. Like, that's just hard. But the Triple Crown of acting makes it a little bit easier. So yeah, she's gotten a lot of success. She won for an Emmy for 7 Seconds. American Crime is when she won her first Emmy. Then she won that award 2 times. I believe she won 2 times that Emmy. 2015 and 2016. She won 2 times for American Crime. Then she won for playing the mother of a murdered black teenager in the Netflix series 7 Seconds. Then she turned around and won her 4th for Watchmen. She's won 4 acting primetime Emmy Awards from 2015, 2016. Then she came back 2018 and 19 and won. Like that run Okay, from American Crime to 7 Seconds to Watchmen, like she just eats. She eats. We don't give her enough credit for that, but she eats. So yeah, Regina King's also doing her thing. Best Actor in a Limited Anthology Series. Colin Farrell for The Penguin, Stephen Grant for Adolescence, Jake Gyllenhaal for Presumed Innocence, Brian Tyree Henry for Dope Thief, which is an incredible performance, and then Cooper Koch for Munsters, the Lau and Eric Menendez story. Best Lead Actress in that same series. Kate Blanchett for Disclaimer, which is awesome. Megan Fahey for Sirens, which is a good show. Rashida Jones for Black Mirror. Pretty good. Michelle Williams for Dying for Sex. And that's not Michelle Williams, the musician. That is Michelle Williams, who was an Oscar-nominated actress, Manchester by the Sea. She was in that. She played Marilyn Monroe and got an Oscar nomination for that. She was previously married to the late, great Heath Ledger. They have a daughter named Matilda together. So yeah, that Michelle Williams, okay? Or as I say, White Michelle. Best Supporting Actor in a Drama Series. It's stacked with like 7 actors. You got Zach Cherry for Severance. You got Tramel Tillman for Severance. John Turturro. It's a lot of people. You got James Marden from Paradise. You got 3 actors from the White Lotus. Like they're all over the place. Everybody over there getting a nomination. So it's a lot going on there. Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series, Patricia Arquette for Severance, Carrie Coon for The White Lotus, Catherine Lanassa for The Pit, and I believe she's not even coming back to the show. So if she gets nominated, is she the one not coming back? She's staying. Someone else is leaving The Pit. And it was very shocking to me. It's Tracy and Evanchor. I'm killing her name, but Tracy is leaving The Pit. She played Dr. Robivanich, and she's leaving the show after season 1. Julianne Nicholson for Paradise, Parker Posey for The White Lotus, Natasha Rothwell for The White Lotus, and Amy Lou Wood for The White Lotus. Like, The White Lotus is just eating in this category. I hope that Natasha Rothwell wins. But Parker Posey was good, but I would love Natasha too. Rothwell, she's just so good. She had another show that did not, that got canceled after 1 season. And I just, she just keeps going. And, she just finds herself back at The White Lotus. How to Die Alone, which was a pretty interesting show, but didn't last. So that's there. Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series. This one took me out, these nominees. Ike Barinholtz, Coleman Domingo, coming right after the Oscar nomination, right? Harrison Ford in Shrinking, Jeff Hiller for Somebody Somewhere, Iban Moss-Bachner, Bachrach for, I'm butchering these last names, for The Bear, Michael Urie for Shrinking, Bowen Yang for Saturday Night Live. So everyone's just doing their thing. Of course, that Supporting Actress in the Comedy Series is coming back after winning last time, Liza Colin-Zayas from The Bear, Hannah Allenbinder for Hacks, which I hope she wins this year. Possibly she could win. Katherine Hine for The Studio, Janelle James for Abbott Elementary, which I really do actually take it back. I want Janelle James to win. This last season was the year of Eva, and she should win. That's just, Eva Coleman is like that character. I do hope she finally wins this year, actually. But it's going to be a tough category. Catherine O'Hara for The Studio, who's previously won. Shirley Ralph for Abbott Elementary, who previously won. Jessica Williams for Shrinking, which I don't mind this. I do like Jessica Williams, but I really want Janelle James to win. This past season was nothing great but short. I mean, she had a really great story. This really carried her. I hope she wins. But yeah, there's so many other actors and actresses and different character boxes. Some major snubs and misses. One example is Squid Game. Like, Squid Game did not get any love at all. The Bear got some love, but not as much as people would have, thought prior. Even Ted Danson did not get any love for Shrinking. So there was a lot of big snubs and surprises. So I'll give you a couple of ones that I'm talking about. So yes, the one for me was Squid Game not getting in. That was a big shocker for me. Selena Gomez, after a lot of appearances, there was talks of her getting an Oscar nomination. I thought that everything that came with just the Oscar love that she had, I thought, after Amelia Perez that she would get nominated. That didn't happen. Diego Luna was not nominated for Andor, which was a shocker too. Some people talking about YouTube, a lot of the YouTube shows didn't get nominated, which I'm not surprised about. Natasha Lyonne did not get nominated for Poker Face, even though a lot of people love that show. John Hamm didn't as well, even though he's very popular. Elizabeth Moss did not, even though she used to previously win for Handmaid's Tale. Allison Janney, people thought would. Seth Meyers did not get any love. These are snubs that I was a little bit surprised about because but also not surprised about. They're typically ones that you can guarantee will get nominated because they previously won or have been in categories. But I think the Emmys just wanted something different. So here's some surprises for me. Harrison Ford was a big surprise. Beyonce got another nomination for her Netflix Christmas Day NFL halftime show in Texas. She got nominated. So it would be nice to see Beyonce get an Emmy finally, because her performance with Coachella with Homecoming I thought would have happened, but did not, which is interesting. Martin Scorsese being nominated, James Marsden, and Julianne Nichols. Like, we all knew that, Michael K. Brown was going to get nominated. But to see James Marsden and Julianne Nichols get nominated, and also What We Do in the Shadows was surprising because it's in his final show. The last episode aired like in December, but for that show to still get nominated for Best Comedy, even though it's no longer on air, is very telling as well. So yeah, there's a lot of love across the board for TV, and I've been loving hip hop. Like, I'm in love and hip hop mode. The new season has just been doing this thing. I'm really liking this season. A lot of the accountability that's being held by certain people. Like, certain people are holding people accountable and staying on business. We love to see it. Just wanted to shout that out. This season has been a lot of real tough conversations, acknowledgments, and whatnot. And yeah, that's TV. But in concluding, this week I am going to get some great relaxation. I got a couple of meetings, but not too much. Just gonna take some time to enjoy the Lit Brothers, have some great dinner, just relax, just really enjoy. I got my event at the National Liberty Museum. Looking forward to that. But yeah, just taking it, just having a good time across the board. Just enjoying company with good people. Resting, just taking it easy, because I got to get ready for the following week, which I got to there's going to be this upcoming week is going to be cool. The week after next week is going to be another relaxation week, because the week following that in August, I will be at Martha's Vineyard. So, Mr. Johnson and I getting ready. I feel like I'm in like vacation mode. It feels like a little bit of a mini vacation within itself. So yeah, super success, super fun. Love it so much. And, we'll just see how everything goes. And as always, be well and be best.
Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.